At our last event, things went upside down for our points leader, Adam McGill, opening the door for Walker Fowler to take a clutch victory and get back into championship contention in the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series. But the toughest track of the year awaits. What'll happen today? Many people believe this to be the crown jewel of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship. We're high atop West Virginia at Snowshoe Mountain Resort, normally a ski community, but we're opening up for ATVs today in the spirit of the Old Blackwater 100, which was the first GNCC race, 8th annual event here at Snowshoe. Adam McGill, Jarrod McClure keeping the fans fired up during opening ceremonies. And yes, we will start on the road right here in the middle of the ski resort village. A totally unique event and a unique starting procedure as well. By points, our top 5 riders on row 1. Everyone else will get a time adjustment as they start on row 2 and further back. Lots of news and info to give you. I'm Jason Wygant with the call, and Adam McGill is going to lead McClure through the first turn. McClure gets him back. Chris Borich, your defending champ. Walker Fowler, number 2, and the 6 of Bryson Neal. They're all in the front row, but McClure, who has never won one of these things, but really seems to ride well in the very gnarly conditions, and that's what we'll have today, is out front as they head down the mountain and into the woods. Here's row number 2. Jay Shadron on the number 9 leading them in, but he spins out. Johnny Gallagher on the 16 gets by to lead this group in. He's got Chris Bithell right behind him. And now we start to flood the slopes with riders from other classes. They're lined up in order of overall points. Now there is an XC2 division, which is for young up-and-coming riders. They call that a Pro-Am class. You never know. They'll start row 3, 4, and if one of these leaders gets bottled up, and the riders from the 3rd or 4th row catch them, these riders from row 1 will have to pull back away to win the race on time adjustment. And we have seen riders from the back rows take advantage of the bad starting position in these conditions. A lot of times when you're deep in the woods, the leader is the first one to get to a big mud hole, doesn't know where to go, gets stuck, and everyone behind, well, then they see where the better line is and they go around. But right now, Jarrod McClure on the JMR ATVRiders.com machine. Adam Maryland in the lead. He's got McGill right behind him. Now, McGill is your series points leader. Has a 22-point gap over this man, the number 2 of Walker Fowler, who won our last race. But this track is so treacherous, we have seen points leads go completely up in smoke. It's so easy to damage the machine on these rocks. There's well over 1,000 feet of elevation change from the highest point of this track to the lowest. And of course, what goes down has to go back up. And that's what McClure is working on right now. Headed all the way back to the top of the facility. We'll have more paved sections in the pit area. This area is supposed to be easy, and it's still rocky and whooped out and rough. But at least you're not dealing with mud and tree roots as you would be deep in the woods. McClure and McGill pulling away. But we tend to see different strategies. Whoa! Chris Borich on the number 1 tried to block and almost crashed. We see different strategies in this race. A lot of times, Borich, for example, has run a conservative route at this event to just make sure he doesn't damage the machine and throw his title chances away just trying to win it. If you're McClure on the number 4, never won a GNCC overall before, what do you care? Take all caution, throw it to the wind. And he leads them around early, but it's a 2-hour event, and that's what makes it so taxing on the equipment. You tag one rock wrong back there, you're going to bend a chain, maybe a brake disc, and of course you can get up under the frame and maybe even damage the engine, steering, suspension components. Here's Bryson Neal in 3rd, but we're already hearing rider to watch, Brian Wolf, 2-time winner of this event, moving up from the 3rd row. Stay with us. McClure and McGill going to keep dueling for the lead, but riders in the back rows are going to try to make a run for it on adjusted time. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We have reached the hardiest fans in all of off-road racing, Snowshoe Mountain here in West Virginia, and they're anticipating our leaders coming through the mud hole. Jarrod McClure continues to maintain that spot. He's got Adam McGill right behind him. Brian Wolf, third overall on adjusted time. Physically third right now is Bryson Neal. Then you have Fowler and Boric right there with them. But Brian Wolf is just lethal on this track. He's so good in this rough terrain. These rocks and tree roots, it's so rough, and Wolf just has a way of flowing and bouncing over that stuff without losing momentum. Here's McClure back up top. Now, the way they designed this track so the spectators get more of an opportunity to see it, they have an east and west side of the mountain. They drop down to the woods on one side, come back up, fans get to see them here in the nice conditions near the ski village, and they go back down the other side and then come back up. So twice a lap, the fans get to check in on the action up here, or the hardy folks will be down in this nasty terrain. These tree roots, especially when it's slippery and muddy, it's like riding on ice. Bryson Neal on the number 6, trying to maintain a good pace on the rough, tight stuff. Fowler and Boric right there, and here's Wolf. Moving up a little bit further, he's got Chris Bithell right behind him, and then Jay Shadrin. Now here's something interesting. This is Cole Richardson. Oh, getting a little sideways. He has dominated that Pro-Am XC2 class all year long. He's won 7 out of 8 events. He has a shot to maybe go after the overall win today on adjusted time. So I'm not sure if Richardson's even thinking about winning his class. Title is virtually assured. This is his chance to run for glory and beat the best in the business on overall time. And here's a lot of his competitors from XC2 working their way through. You just don't get woods quite this tight and tree roots this big at the other Grand National cross country events, and that's what makes Snowshoe what it is. Beautiful on the top, but absolutely treacherous down here in the bottoms. And this is what I'm talking about right here. McGill now leads McClure through. And yes, the fans can get involved. That's 100% legal in this game. It is a spectator sport in more ways than one. Oh, and a bump. That gets Bryson Neal going. Now the next rider's stuck. Here's Boric trying to take advantage. Fowler right there. Fans almost getting in the way. Chris Bithell sneaks through. And you can just hear these people cheering. We mentioned the Blackwater 100. That might be the all-time toughest American off-road race ever. And that's what this event was known for. The fans getting involved, getting down and dirty in the mud. Yes, we have a ski resort with a Starbucks and a couple of restaurants and a bar and hotels up at the top of this place. These fans in West Virginia could not care less about anything like that. They have trekked down here to watch these riders, to be honest, show how good they are, but also show how bad the conditions are. They want these guys to get stuck. They want to see some action. Let's throw a few logs in this thing as if it's not challenging enough. Pretty physically demanding down there. You got to fight, keep the momentum up, don't get stuck. That's what Adam McGill has done so far today. But McClure is still stalking him back there. It's one of our officials' bikes parked to patrol the racetrack. And a nice effort by Bryson Neal on the B. Neal Motorsports Yamaha. And if you look, he's actually closed a bit on that McGill-McClure combo out front. And here comes the rest of the cavalry. Brian Wolf still in contention for this thing overall on adjusted time. Then you have the likes of Boric, Fowler, Bithell, Shadrin fighting for position, fighting each other, and fighting this rough racetrack. And don't forget the kid, Cole Richardson. He's got them in his sights. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Welcome back. It's the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series. I'm your host, Jason Wygant, and we are in the Snowshoe Resort in West Virginia, and this is the toughest GNCC of them all. Look at the elevation changes and the lead changes. Right now, Adam McGill has it. Jarrod McClure is right behind him. It's one of those big climbs. Listen to the engines laboring. 454 strokes, and they have to downshift to get to the top. The camera never does it justice. This is a ski resort, folks. They hit nearly 7,000 feet of elevation at the top, so this is a strain on the equipment. Everyone else still battling. Bryson Neal, Brian Wolf, Boric, Bithell, Shadron, Walker Fowler, and Cole Richardson out of the XC2 class. That's the up-and-coming group, the second tier to these pros. And Richardson, the young kid out of Pennsylvania who is dominating that class, has caught the pro leaders today, is going to try to put an upset for the ages in the books. There he is at the back of that train, headed uphill. There's Richardson, very left of the screen, the yellow helmet. And this is the track that breeds those types of crazy stories. Look at all these rocks. You hit one of them wrong, as you see McGill get back onto the hard road now. And look, he's tossing aside paper towels somewhere in the woods. That's a strategy they'll actually use. Someone will throw them a rag or some paper towels. They'll put it on their gloves over the grips. Cleans the gloves off, cleans the grips off, and then once the paper towel or the shop rag is used up, they'll toss them aside. But anyway, you're doing all that and trying to avoid tagging one of these rocks the wrong way and just breaking the machine and ending your day. It's also interesting, everywhere we go on this track, and there are literally miles between where our camera viewpoints are, and you still see fans out there. This is a hardy bunch, and they would love to see Adam McGill win it. He is a West Virginia native, West Union, West Virginia, actually not too far from the Ohio River. We had a West Virginia event in Masontown earlier this year. He won it. They serenaded him with Country Roads. The fans were singing on the podium. It appears that McClure is the one man who could take it away from him, but as we watch this fight, don't forget riders like Wolf, Bithell, Richardson, they were not on the front row. They will have a time adjustment, although right now they've got about 5 seconds to make up. More on this in a moment. Let's check out our bike highlights. Caleb Russell is your defending GNCC bike champ and your series points leader. Thad Duvall, though, West Virginia native, is always fast in this terrain, getting the crowd fired up here in opening ceremonies. And just like the ATVs, we start the bikes on the hard road. But these riders have to be very careful not to burn out their rear tires, so they will not really engage in battle until we're deep in the woods. And like the ATVs, top 5 in points are on the front row. Grant Baylor, Chris Bach, and Ryan Sipes will join Russell and Duvall. And Bach, a great start in the Johnny Campbell Racing Honda. Like I said, everyone wants to be very careful here not to burn out those rear tires that are not designed for pavement. Unless you're in row 2, watch this. Ricky Russell, runs right into the rear tire of Jordan Ashburn and goes down. That could potentially hurt. Luckily, they weren't going fast. Russell back up in the race. And the other Russell, Caleb Russell, quickly takes the lead. A dominant season for the defending champions, won all but one race. Ryan Sipes up to second behind him. And here's Duvall in third. So you're the factory FMF KTM leads. Sipes on a Rockstar Air Group Husqvarna second. Duvall riding for Rocky Mountain ATV MC KR4. And Fred Andrews racing on his Husqvarna. Here's Russell negotiating the rocks and the big uphills and a little bit of water at the bottom as well. Sipes is second. He comes from a motocross background, only started this off-road thing 2 years ago. This is his second full season in this series. He has come a long way in this terrain. And speaking of the terrain, look how bad it is down here in the bogs. This is Trevor Bollinger and Jason Thomas battling in the XC2 class. Again, like the ATVs, kind of a stepping stone division. Thomas on the right trying to make a pass while negotiating this very difficult terrain. Back to the XC1 riders. Where are they? That is Grant Baylor on the Ampro NFAB Yamaha trying to plow his way through. Barely any RPM at all. These machines are just lugging it to cut back on the wheel spin and try to hook up. And speaking of hooking up, Russell and Sipes back there in second, hooking up in an early battle, and Duval in it as well. So a season of dominance for Russell, but lately some of these riders getting closer and closer. These conditions always work well for Duval, but for Sipes, this is very impressive. Duval then takes over the lead. Although on a track like this, everyone tries not to get too excited. Russell pushed back to second. So much bad can happen. It's really not about one sprint or one good section. It's about being able to do it all day. And you see Russell circulating in second as he and Duval kind of wait each other out. And it's always fun to see these two battle because these two were raised in the GNCC series. They were superstars at a very young age. Before they were both 10 years old, they were winning titles on mini cycles on these tracks. Maybe it's no surprise that experience is paying off times like this. There's a rider from one of the amateur classes bogged down and stuck, and the numbers are covered, but I think this is Jordan Ashburn on an NFAB AmPro Yamaha up to third. Sipes, by the way, after making a great run, is now out of this race with a knee injury. Says he's not sure what happened. Maybe hit it on the handlebars or on a rock, but a tough break for him. And that's going to hurt him in the point standings as well. Russell would eventually wrestle the lead back from Duval, and those two would go back and forth throughout the majority of this race. Once Sipes was out of it, it was really going to be determined between these two, and Duval certainly wants to get his first victory of the year. So he fought and scratched and clawed and got it back from Caleb Russell. You see the team people down there trying to point out the good lines. What spots are bottomless pits and which ones actually have traction as Caleb Russell fights this KTM to get to the top of the hill. Duval would lead up to lap 7 of 10, but the final few laps, Russell would get back by, pull away, and roll to victory. 8 wins in 9 races this year. Incredible. And there's Duval, put on a great show, giving Russell all he could handle for the majority of this race day. Ends up second, and third will go to Jordan Ashburn, a friendly young man out of Tennessee. He had been struggling all season. This is his first top 3 effort of 2015. Bach and the rookie Baylor round out the top 5. Good job by the visiting Taylor Robert, who races Endurocross, certainly new to these muddy East Coast type conditions. He takes a solid 6th. Racer TV is brought to you by AMSOIL and by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We're back. Grand National Cross Country Racing from West Virginia, and the one thing that could make this track worse, rain, well, it started to come down, and look at how it's changed things. That is Walker Fowler all the way to the lead, ahead of Adam McGill. We had Fowler 4th when we last saw these guys. Pushed back to 3rd is Jarrod McClure. So Fowler on a run, and it could be a championship run also. Chris Borich in 4th, but it is Fowler 2nd in the series, now ahead of McGill. No, McGill has gotten him back. And the West Virginia people are pumped. Look at how much standing water is now on this track in the hard road. That was, I didn't even realize that was paved before. Now all the dust is washed off. Fowler was 7th, 8th, 4th, 2nd, and now 1st. Each time we came around and logged another lap. And there goes Brian Wolf, who's still in it on a just-in-time. But now they've emerged from the woods, and McGill in the lead with Fowler right behind him, and that was the white flag. So last lap, McGill and Fowler set to battle, and don't count out McClure, who's in 3rd, and like I said, he's never won one of these races. So the 2 riders out front, they might be thinking about points. Everyone else is thinking, I just want to win Snowshoe. Chris Borich making a run now from 4th. It's tightening up as the checkered flag is being readied at the top of the mountain, and Fowler has retaken the lead from McGill. Unbelievable racing in a driving rain on the most difficult course conditions we've had all year long, and these riders step it up and challenge each other to the end. McGill back to the lead, and geez, these machines are pristine. The rain has just washed an hour and a half worth of mud collection off. Borich yet to win a race this year on his new Yamaha. He's in contention. McClure now back to the lead. That's Fowler in 2nd. And where is McGill? And these machines are steaming and smoking. They are barely going to make it to the finish. This is Brian Wolf. We've heard now on a just-in-time, Wolf is in the lead. We've also heard that McGill has gotten stuck in one of the mud holes. McClure is going to be the first rider to get to the checkered flag physically. Will he have enough time? As Fowler takes second, will Wolf be able to do it on the time adjustment? Here we go. He's got to be within 30 seconds. Checkers are out. Wolf comes through. It's going to go to McClure. Unbelievable. McClure on the number 4, his first ever Grand National Cross Country win. And look at the time elapsed. 1 second, the final margin of victory. Wolf about 25 seconds behind that third. And a heartbreak for McGill, 8, getting stuck in the mud hole on the last lap going for the lead. Here's your AMSOIL race recap. It was McGill and McClure battling up front, 521 and number 4, and they pulled away early. And it looked like it would be a private duel between them. They were down in the mud, keeping the momentum up, keeping their machines alive. But then it started to rain, and that changed everything. Walker Fowler and Chris Borge got in on it. McGill got stuck. McClure retook the lead. And through the toughest conditions they'll face all year long, he would go on to take his first ever GNCC win. For everyone at Racer TV, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.